One of the things I had to learn was not everybody's going to want to date me. And that was, yeah.
Anthony.
I'm telling you, man, it happened.
You're fucking awesome, man.
But I had to understand.
I would date you if you approached me. No. I'd be like, yeah, I'll give you a shot. I mean, it may not last long term, but I'd totally date you.
Just a quickie, right?
Yeah.
No.
You're listening to the Unframe of Mind show, the place to have the most mind-stretching, unprotected, intellectual intercourse of your life. Your hosts battle the forces of evil by lobbing fiery balls of truth, reason, and evidence over safe room walls.
So, Mr. Robbie, welcome to the show.
Yes.
Welcome to the show. Glad to have you along. Been looking forward to this for quite some time, and due to scheduling issues, it's been quite the challenge to get us all three together in one spot at the same time.
It is.
I would say.
Yeah. Well, I'm halfway around the world, so I guess I'm to blame for that a bit.
I mean, yes, if you're going to take the blame, I will fully let you have it. Absolutely.
Where are you currently residing at right now?
I'm in Kiev, Ukraine.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's just around the corner from us.
Hop, skip, and a jump right down the street from us.
Yeah, like I could get an Uber over there like right now. Like
I hate to see that Uber bill.
Absolutely. Do me a favor. Just tell folks a little bit about you.
Yeah.
What is it you do, and why are you here?
A little bit of a jumping off point.
We'll just bounce from there.
Yeah.
Well, when I heard about the genre of your show, I was excited to come on because I love just kind of talking openly and bluntly about everything.
Nice.
And being in the field I'm in, I'm a dating coach, and I help guys to improve their dating skills, social skills, whether they want to, set up any sort of lifestyle they want with women, if that's monogamy or kind of being like a crazy sort of Dan Blazarian type of dude. I can help guys sort of forge that path. And I also have a podcast where I kind of share a lot of nitty gritty and love to just kind of get into some uncomfortable conversations and say what's up, say what's on my mind. So
talk to me, man.
To be here.
Talk to me, man. You sound really uncomfortable already. I feel like we haven't even really gotten into the meat of the conversation, and you're already uncomfortable. That's awesome.
I kind of wonder how did you kind of navigate into becoming a life coach specifically for men and dating? How did that kind of transpire for you?
Well, I was a total sort of clueless idiot when it came to dating.
Wait, what?
I think we all were at one point.
That's a thing?
Yeah. I guess it was probably also I was just young. I was graduating from college. And up until that point, I was just kind of like the guy who was typically in the friend zone. Tried to like bring extra copies of my homework for girls and do silly things like that to get them to like me. And that never seemed to work very well. And I had some relationships here and there, but I was always I had a lot of sort of...
yeah, he had relationships. Sorry, he had relationships until the class was over.
Right.
And then the next semester started.
Exactly. Yep. Till their homework was due. And I had some insecurities around how I looked. I was a little bit chubby, and that, for whatever reason, that was sort of like a big impact on me. Got rejected, like as my first sort of attempt to date a girl. And I think a lot of us, something happens, and it was my first attempt, and I see that all the time with my clients where their dating life or their confidence would have been radically different if that first attempt went well.
Right.
But it didn't. And then I told myself a story that I'm not good enough and girls don't like me and blah, 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 blah. And then I end up basically, totally clueless and kind of pushing dating a little bit to the side. I was like, I'll just focus on making money and working and golf. And, I don't need girls in my life, or was that kind of like denial that I was in. And then around... I guess it was 2006, 2007, a buddy of mine introduced me to that book you guys might have heard of called The Game by Neil Strauss, which was kind of like this weird pickup artist journey about this guy who I related with. As kind of like a nerdy geek. And that was the first sort of like aha moment where I'm like, whoa, you can actually improve your game? I didn't know game was even a thing. I didn't know you could really even improve on this. I just kind of thought like, oh, it's, you know, if the girl likes you, great. And I never really put any thought into it. It took me down this rabbit hole, tried a bunch of dumb, crazy stuff, trying to pick up girls. Basically whatever I read, I'd give it a try. And after I just got totally like obsessed with the idea of improving myself, becoming more attractive. And it was a lot of fun as I got better and better and was able to kind of like, you know, do a lot of the sort of sexual things that I had on my bucket list, and started a blog. In that process, guys would read the blog and eventually, you know, offered to pay me for my advice. And I was like, what, I can actually do this as a job? That's weird. But so I never kind of planned on it being a profession, but it became my passion and my interest. And then, yeah, so in 2009, I quit my job in finance and banking that I hated and started doing this full time, and I've been doing it ever since.
You know, it kind of reminds me of that movie Hitched with Will Smith, and where he was kind of that, I guess you say, life coach for dating. And,
Kevin James.
And, yeah. But, you know, and it's interesting that you're telling your story because I had a similar one myself. And back through high school, I was socially awkward, was not outgoing. I just did not know how to interact with women, you know, or girls back in high school. And it wasn't until I discovered that my looks weren't working for me, and I had to figure out another way to attract women to me. And I figured, what I found was my personality and just being funny. For some reason, women are attracted to humor, but then also if it became a little bit more outgoing. So I tried this in my early 20s, going, of all places, to strip clubs. Because I don't know them. They don't know me. They're there to make money. I know at the end of the night, I'm not going home with anybody. So I kind of felt like if I just put myself out there and just be me, you know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you like
I had nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. Right. Absolutely.
But then what happened was the reverse of what I thought would happen. So rather not, you know, where I wasn't going home with women, I ended up going home with strippers.
Wow.
Because they loved my personality. They loved the sense of humor. And I that's when I discovered that my personality and my humor could get me a lot further than my looks. Mm-hmm. So once I figured that out, I started to use that to my advantage. I know it sounds kind of bad, but...
No, that's not even... No. You don't know what's bad. What's bad is... there used to be this girl I had a crush on back in high school.
Right.
Never spoke to her. Never, ever spoke to her. I was like not confident at all.
Right.
Thought I was kind of a loser. I carried myself around that way and didn't even realize it. Right. Mm-hmm. No self-confidence at all. Hadn't come into my own yet. You know, I'm still young. I get it makes sense. But anyway, she rode the same bus as me. Mm-hmm. I knew which stop she got off on. And I was like fucking... This is creepy, but I would sit there and in like 10th grade would sit there and go walk the apartment complex where she was at, hoping to catch a glimpse of where she might live. I don't even know where she lives.
That's creepy, dude.
I'm just like,
that's creepy.
Because thinking,
yeah.
No, it wasn't even, see, for me, it wasn't even a stalkerish thing. It was like, I'm hoping maybe to get the chance encounter, like I might like bump into her and have an excuse to talk to her. I'm like, this is so dumb. And eventually I'm like, I never did find her at all. She ended up moving. I ended up moving. And I was like, man, I never. And what really sucks is there was a number of girls that, you know, later on down the road, I talked to them. And I was like, yeah, I used to have a crush on you. I just think you were kind of cute. She's like, well, why didn't you say something? I kind of liked you too. I'm like, really?
If you only knew it was that easy.
I know. If all I had to do was like go say, hey, and act myself, I guess. I don't know. But I'm sure you encounter a lot of guys in this situation where they're just like don't know what to do. They don't. There's like this weird barrier, like this, like keeping them from actually reaching out and saying something and just being themselves. I guess is that what's been like the biggest barrier in your experience for the guys that you coach?
Yeah, it's mostly like a combination of shyness and a little bit of anxiety, fear of rejection to kind of put yourself out there. And it's a totally like irrational fear, because when we do just like go up to the girl or say hi or just, you know, try to make something happen, even if we do get rejected, we feel better that we did it. But there's like this, huge wall, at least that I had, like this massive wall of anxiety that would stop me from doing anything. And that's what I typically encounter with my clients, is that they, because of that anxiety and that fear of approaching a girl or showing some interest because they don't want to get rejected, they kind of stick with online dating, which is mostly a waste of time. And they kind of hide out, and rather than taking action and putting their balls on the line and risking the rejection, they just wait and they hope that something will change. And then enough time goes by where that pain gets worse and worse, and then they end up having to, hire someone like me because they feel so stuck.
Yeah, that was going to be. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I said, or there's the guys on the other end of the spectrum where they're crushing it and doing really well, and they want to kind of take it to the next level and really sort of like build a lifestyle that they're looking for. So it's never really anyone in between. It's those two sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, I kind of wondered how this would work now, given the climate of dating is so different than what it used to be before social media and the internet, because that seems to be the number one avenue for most people, is to go the social route.
Yeah, we were just talking about this the other day when we had on the Twins and the Painted Man. We were talking about the dating world then versus now, because when Anthony and I dated, it wasn't
there was no social media.
The whole game has changed. But I suspect, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like maybe the game hasn't changed so much, just people think the game has changed. So
no, it's changed.
I guess that was a question for Robbie. I don't know.
No.
Maybe
it hasn't changed, but well, I can't really say it hasn't changed. All the principles are still the same.
That's what I'm getting at. The principles are still in place, but just the methods might have changed. The tech changed. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, the underlying principles have remained the same, but it's the approach that seems to be the area in which it's changed. Meaning, rather than going up to somebody in public, telling them, "Hey, I noticed you across the room, wanted to come over and say hello." Now it's, "I noticed your profile, wanted to stop in your DMs and say hello."
Yeah, it's almost like
the Instagram for the most part. Like, Instagram's the biggest dating site out there.
Really?
Not a dating site, of course, but that's it's essentially what it's become.
Yeah, I just, that's what I was asking are you finding that to be more challenging when you take on clients that surround themselves with social media? I mean, do you work with them on social media, like on how to approach a woman, or do you kind of go in the area of, why don't you meet them in public, or why don't you say hello to somebody at a, I don't know, grocery store or bar, whatever? Kind of give us what the difference is and how that's kind of changed.
Yeah. So, if you try to use social media to, meet women, you're probably going to date, below what you could achieve by not doing that, because the game online on Instagram is sort of, it's not it's rigged against you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have a situation, you have a dating marketplace where beautiful women get bombarded with messages, and
it's a fucking sausage fest.
Exactly. And their value, or their perceived value, goes through the roof.
Oh my God. Look, every time I see one of those comment sections, a pretty girl posts a picture, 23,000 likes. Like every Tom, Dick, and Harry literally is down in the comment section. Ooh, you're hot. You're sexy.
Yeah.
You're cute. Are you single? Like, holy shit. I'm sitting here thinking, man, I can't compete with that, because I'm sure there's at least 10 guys in that chat section that's way better than me.
They've become so used to hearing it that it almost kind of becomes a turnoff in a way, because you hear that a lot from women online. Yeah. They talk about, well, I'm just so tired of hearing I'm hot, I'm sexy, this, that, and the other. There's more to me. But then I'm kind of like, well, showing your ass on social media is not exactly helping the situation. So I kind of don't.
It's kind of skewing like perceived value. That phrase you just used, perceived value. It's just like you get online. If you're even moderately cute, you can put a little makeup on and you look amazing as a woman, and you can get the attention you want. but you're not going to get the quality of attention you want if that's your strategy. I don't know what that looks like from the women's perspective, but from the man's perspective, you know, you go, like I said, you go down the comment section, and you're like, holy shit, like I'm not even going to waste my time. And honestly, quality men are going to take one look at that and go, you know, I'll find somebody else. I'll take a different strategy, because a quality man's going to look at the odds and go, huh, I could do much better, you know, face to face, or I can do much better, you know, in another arena.
Yeah,
you know?
but that also, I would think, that would kind of set back their chances, or may not give them the confidence enough to maybe say something, because they see that they're so bombarded. I mean, it does become this compete game. You know, you got a lot of alphas that are in the comment section. It's like, well, what do I say or do to, you know, help myself stand out? You know, now, do you tell your clients
he had a comment on that.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, yeah, it becomes it's a status game, right? And how many followers you have, you know, do you have a blue check mark? Those are the things that are going to either get your message read, get that woman attracted to you, or not. So if you don't have those followers or that status, you know, you have no chance, because you're competing in a dating market where her value or her perceived value is through the roof. Yours is as low as it could be, and it's just totally, the odds are almost impossible against you.
So your advice is to pay to inflate your Instagram numbers and start commenting on hot girls' photos. Man, that is some solid advice, guys.
Find one of those scam companies in India, get a ton of fake followers,
exactly.
fake likes, and you are good to go.
Absolutely, man. That is genius in 2021, man. Who would have thought?
Now, do you encourage your clients to meet people that are in person rather than over the internet?
Yeah, because the process of approaching and getting out, you get out of your comfort zone, you face your fear, you push past that anxiety. So not only are you giving yourself options as far as dating, but you're also growing as a person.
Right.
And that process, it's one of the craziest, can I swear?
Yeah.
One of the craziest fucking, like, just sort of man or boy becoming man journey.
He says,
in
can
a
I
weird
swear?
way. Like,
sorry to interrupt. He says, can I swear? And then drops the biggest
swear
curse
word
there is. like, man, go balls out, man. Be yourself. All right.
That is what you tell your clients, so that's what we're going to tell you.
Oh, good. So, but yeah, so so when you approach a woman, if you get rejected, that's fucking great. Like, that's the best thing that can happen. Because every time you get rejected, you get a little bit stronger. You give a little bit less of a fuck. And nothing is more attractive to a woman than a guy who has a ton of options. He's not needy. He's not chasing. And he's just okay with himself. He's totally who he is, because he's not worried about rejection or doesn't care, really, at the end of the day, what someone thinks.
Yeah.
And he's just out being himself. And that's going to attract the right sort of person to you. Right. The problem is, guys are like, and you hear that advice, like, oh, just go be yourself. But if yourself is like wrapped up in a shitload of anxiety, that's not really yourself either. So the process of approaching and facing your fear and just going up and hitting on women, talking to, you know, in the grocery store, on the sidewalk, wherever it is, guys will do this and they'll be like, holy shit, I haven't felt this alive since I don't remember when. And not only that, but then, you know, you might get a date and you might find a girlfriend and you might have a lot of fun.
That reminded me of the story you just told about going to the strip club and picking it, because you didn't really feel like you had anything to lose. So that kind of barrier to entry, so to speak, that anxiety wall was just completely knocked out of the way.
I'm not encouraging people to go to titty bars to try this out. I'm just saying that's what worked for me.
Yeah, it was the same kind of, it was the same kind of thing going on there. You weren't, the fear of being rejected wasn't present for you, so you were able to.
Well, no, it was present because I knew it was there. I knew going home with the stripper was something typically they don't do with their clients. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I knew at the end of the night I was going to end up going home alone. But as time moved on, and after spending several weeks, weekends in the strip clubs, it manifested itself into a situation where I've got two girls in my apartment I'm taking home 2 strippers. And then it turned into, okay, well, now that I've done this, you know, what else can I do? Can I push this?
Right.
So then I started doing swinger clubs.
Oh my God.
So
I've never even been to a strip club in my whole life. I'm sitting there going, man, that sounds like.
But it was the girls that I was meeting at strip clubs that were introducing me to swinger clubs. And then that's when I felt like my personality really kind of flourished, because you met so many people that were open. Yeah. So they weren't being as judgmental. They weren't, you know, rejecting you. And then it became a lifestyle that I did for a couple of years until I actually ended up marrying a stripper. So, I mean, my lifestyle was a little bit different, but it gave me that confidence. Right. And then as time moved on, and, you know, obviously I'm not going to strip clubs anymore. I'm not doing that whole thing, but it did stay with me as far as my attitude, my confidence, and how I approach people now. So I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so engaging with people. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this podcast. I wouldn't be doing, you know, what I'm doing now. So back then, even though it was kind of crazy times, it's given me the ability to say, okay, well, yeah, I'm not the best looking. I'm kind of out of shape, but you know what? I've got other things going for me. And because I know that, I can implement those and I can strike up conversations. Now, whether it goes anywhere or not, I can kind of determine based off the conversation if this is going to go anywhere. So if it doesn't, I kind of know where I need to stop, you know, pursuing that person rather than start looking at them as a friend. Right. So everybody's different, but I do kind of wonder, Robbie, like, when these guys are coming to you and wanting to explore the dating world, and they realize that they get that confidence, how far are they willing to go with that once they realize that they have the confidence to be able to date any woman that they want? And then when they do, say later on they start getting rejected again, do they kind of wonder, like, is this working anymore? Is it them? Because I would feel like that would give them a bit of a complex if things are going well, and then all of a sudden you had a couple of setbacks.
Meaning, like, you get in a relationship and then you're out of the game for a while, then you kind of come back.
Yeah. So if you're dating somebody for a while and then you haven't really kind of explored a dating area, and then all of a sudden you want to jump back into it, and then you're just kind of like, you're lost. You know?
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, it's like a sport. I like to compare dating to, you know, whether that's hockey or basketball or whatever. Like, when you don't play for a while, you're going to be rusty.
Right.
Come back, and, you know, those sort of like flirting skills and your quick wit, like, the more sort of flirty conversations you have, and the more you approach, the better those skills become. And when you're in a relationship, you're probably not doing that.
Right.
Unless it's an open relationship and you're running around. But, you know, those skills, you get rusty. So yeah, you got to get back into it. It's going to take a few months. You know, you're going to be a little bit more nervous on those dates. You know, you got to kind of find your way back into it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you, you know, we were talking about, you know, that anxiety and whatnot. A lot of guys got to break through. And one of my questions I had for you was to, you know, how do quote unquote nice guys battle women's tendency toward hypergamy?
A very good question. Well, first, so the whole nice guy thing is usually an inauthenticity. You know, guys who are quote unquote nice guys are using being nice as a means to try to get laid. And women see that, and it's divisive, and it's unattractive. So, you know, if you're a nice guy and you happen to, you know, land a woman, and, you know, you're like feeling like, oh, I'm so lucky to have her. She's so out of my league. You know, it's not long until she's going to be denying you sex. You're going to be sleeping on the couch, and she's going to be, you know, likely cheating on you and finding a way to level up and you kind of do that hypergamy sort of process. So I see that, you know, unfortunately happen with a lot of guys who maybe get into a relationship at a young age and they never kind of figured this stuff out, and they feel like they got lucky and the girl was out of their league, and then they have to go through a horrible breakup and a divorce, and they kind of hit that rock bottom, and then they have to start from that shitty place.
God, it's amazing how that mindset kind of permeates the entire, like, everything, the whole relationship. As long as you have that mindset that I'm like why I'm lucky to be here. Why am I even here? Like, you know, you're going to start acting out in ways that kind of present that idea without actually, you know, consciously saying it. And like what you're saying, it's kind of a turnoff after a while. You're like nobody thinks that they're better than somebody else. Like not like that.
Well, your ego kind of gets in the way.
Yeah, over a certain period of time, you're like, well, I'm just a person just like you. Like, where is your confidence? Like, where are your things that you're better at me than? Like, where's your areas of strength? I want to see those. Like, why am I lucky to be with you? She says, you know.
Well, I do kind of wonder, like, from if I'm playing devil's advocate, how does this look towards women seeing this on the other side of things? So when they hear about what you do, and then of course, I don't know if your clients, you know, will ever, talk about, you know, using your services to further gain their experience with women and so forth. So I kind of wonder from like the women's perspective, do you get a little bit of pushback from that as far as, you know, your choice of profession with trying to help guys, you know, hook up and so forth?
You know, most women find it really fascinating.
Really?
I have to be careful when people ask me what do you do, because I just know it's going to be a long conversation, and you know, because everyone's fascinated in dating and social dynamics and all these things.
Right.
The huge majority of women think it's awesome, and they're like, wow, he's helping guys be more confident, which is better for me because that's a better dating pool, you know, for me to choose from.
Because women's dating pools aren't large enough already.
Right. But you know, there's a few, I'd say maybe a small 5% or less, that they're like, well, who gave you the authority to do that? Or, you know, what makes you the expert, blah, blah, blah. Or,
and what's your answer to that?
Guys should just, it's weird. You shouldn't be teaching that. The guys should just know it. And if they don't, they shouldn't be procreating. So
what's your answer? Like, how do you combat that concern?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if someone is that ridiculous, I'm probably not even going to try. But I you know, you can't really argue with someone coming from that very, you know, border area of the conversation. But I'm like, listen, I'm just trying to help guys become the best version of themselves. Yeah. Guys have insecurities. Guys have issues, just like women do, and we're all just trying to improve and connect with people. That's what this is really about. It's about finding meaningful connections. So if a guy wants to go out and bang 1,000 girls, and that's what he needs to do, you know, that's what he wants to do. And there's women that do that too. And, you know, you can be judgy if you want, but that's up to you.
So the analogy I came up with while you're saying that is like, you mentioned like playing sports or something, like say soccer. I mean, if you want to get better at soccer and you want to play with better people, you want to, you know, improve your skills, like you would go get a coach for that. Like that's something that you would improve on. And that's, you know, and that puts you in a position to be able to play with better players and get better quality,
get more money, more endorsements.
Exactly. I mean, so I guess I can see it's kind of the same. There's a lot of parallels between those two ideas. The idea that you're trying to improve your potential prospects. You know, imagine trying to just scrape from the bottom of the barrel, hoping you get something maybe, versus, you know, building up those skills and getting better at it and actually learning where your weaknesses are. You know, that's I would say that is a sign of a quality person who's willing to admit, okay, I need help, and are willing to go get it and even pay for it. Like that's,
it takes courage to look in the mirror and be like, you know, this is something that I could use some help in. And, you know, for a lot of things in life, like sports, or, you know, if you want to get better at chess, there's no, you know, there's no sort of like ego hit when you're like, you know, if you say I suck at chess, like no one's going to care. No one's going to judge you. But if you're like, okay, I suck at dating, you know, as a man, there's some like embarrassment around there. And there's some embarrassment around like admitting that. But who says like it's ridiculous that our kind of culture is of the one where guys are just, you know, you're expected just to be like good at that. You know what I mean? Like it's just the function of our culture. It's, you know, guys have to say they're all good at sex and poker, and admitting that you're not good at one of those things is usually a big ego boost or bruise.
Yeah, one of the things I had to learn was not everybody's going to want to date me. And that
What?
was, yeah.
Anthony.
I'm telling you, man, it happened.
You're fucking awesome, man.
But I had to understand.
I would date you if you, if you approached me. I'd be like, yeah, I'll give you a shot. I mean, it may not last long term, but I'd totally date you.
Just a quickie, right?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I think that's one of the things, you probably would tell your clients is that, there is going to be some sort of rejection down the line going through this process, because I know, at least with me, I had to come to terms with the fact that not everybody's going to date me. Not everybody's going to hook up with me. Not everybody's going to want a life or relationship with me. So as long as you know that going into the situation, I think that actually helps, because they kind of get over that fear of rejection because they know it's going to come at some point. I don't know how this would work with anxiety, but that's a whole nother, I guess, entity in itself. But for me, at least, that's what I learned. And is that something that you kind of let your clients know that, hey, there's a possibility this might happen?
What might happen exactly?
Just the just rejection part at some point.
Oh yeah, I mean, I tell them going in, like, rejection. This is an exercise in getting comfortable with rejection. Like approaching, like there's no way to get around rejection. There's only a way through it.
Right.
You have to step into the fire and realize, like, oh, it's not that bad. Like the walking on coals thing at the Tony Robbins convention. It's like, oh, I can do this sort of thing. Never tried it, but that's what I hear people say. So, at first those rejections are very scary, but after you experience just a few of them, it's not that big of a deal. And you're like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. And I can go out with my buddy and we can run around, hitting on girls and laugh about who got the worst rejection. And, as you do that process, you get much more confident and you stop caring about rejection, and then your dating options radically expand.
So is there a difference in the way you approach coaching guys who are trying to date just for, like, say, hookups or just trying to build their skills versus somebody who's maybe trying to look for a long-term partner, somebody to eventually marry and start a family with, settle down, so to speak? Is there a difference in the way you approach those situations?
No, not at all, because essentially you're building a skill to communicate more effectively with women, and you're stripping away the sort of, layers of the onion of yourself that kind of suck, and you're improving your chances and your odds. And at the end of the day, whether you decide to find one awesome woman or just do anything else, that's just what you choose to do. But the skill set and the guy you're trying to become is the same guy.
Now, is this something where you've had clients where even they've established a relationship with their significant other that they feel like they still need to continuously improve themselves? Do they still come to you even after they're in a relationship for your services?
Most guys typically they'll start using my services. They'll get over their sort of fear of approaching. They'll get a bunch of dates, and then they'll kind of jump into a relationship, which I say, don't do that just so fast. Build your skills first, because if you haven't, if you're thirsty and you haven't had, any success in a long time, you're going to kind of grab onto that first thing that you get. And I said, that's a trap. Don't do that, because then later on, 2 or 3 months down the road, you're probably going to come back when that relationship didn't work out.
I don't think you're using trap the right way.
I see that a lot. But the guys who do realize, like, okay, I can see myself improving. My options are getting better. I'm having fun on dates. The quality of the women I'm attracting keeps getting higher and higher. And as they stick with the process, it usually takes around a year or two, depending on how much action you're willing to take. It's a long process. It's not like an overnight quick fix. And then once you have those skills, most guys would kind of get into a relationship, and then they no longer really, need my sort of services from that point on.
Now, currently, right now, I'm struggling with one of my adult children in the dating realm. She keeps choosing these complete losers. Like, I'm talking bottom of the barrel scrubs, every kind of vice you can possibly think of, and I don't understand it. She's a gorgeous young lady, and she could do way better, but one of the things I keep telling her is that in order to find a person of quality, in order to date a person of quality, you yourself need to be or become, or at least be on the journey toward becoming a person of quality. You need to have your shit together, like, basically. at least to some extent. I mean, is there something to be said about that, or am I totally approaching this situation wrong?
No, I mean, I think that's 100% true. Like, you're going to attract your sort of equal, or, you know, the someone of the same sort of value that you're putting out there. So if you're kind of vibrating at a low frequency, and that's kind of who you're going to get. That's who you're going to attract. But there's also people kind of go through like dating stages. I think this is more, I see it more with women, because women are usually the ones choosing, right? They kind of have the options. They're the ones saying yes or no.
Men propose, so women dispose.
Yeah.
What's that?
Men propose, women dispose. That's a saying for a reason.
So yeah, you see a lot of girls kind of going through phases where they want to date like bad boys, and then they want to date like rockers, and they have those options. Whereas guys are just like, well, I just kind of want to get laid, or I want to, date this or that, unless they're a guy with a lot of confidence, and they do have that option to do that.
Like Dan Bilzerian.
Exactly.
Right on, absolutely. Yeah, because right now I kind of get a sense that the types of people that, at least that she's dating, is an outward reflection of her, the amount of quality she feels she can bring to the table. Like, she feels like that's all she's worth, so that's all she's going to reach for.
Sounds like a self-esteem issue, really.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And I wonder. I mean, this is not a show for women's dating advice, but it's just. It's something that I'm struggling with with that particular situation, and I'm pulling my hair out trying to be a good role model, show her what a person of quality would look like. But at the same time, she's still young. She's just turning 20 today. Actually, is her birthday.
Yeah, it's her birthday.
Yeah, and so she's still got a lot of learning, a lot of growing to do. And I just remember me back when I was that age. I'm like, I was an idiot at 20. Like,
well, there again, times are different. She's got social media,
and that's a whole nother like.
She's growing up in that era.
Oh, good Lord!
So
and I think, if I can interject super fast,
yeah, that's fine.
It's the problem is probably it's more about her friends and what they're doing. Typically. It's like, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Or you're the collection of the 5, closest friends. And when you're that age, like you're closer with your friends than with your family most of the time.
Yep.
When you're like late teenager, early sort of 20s, and her dating strategies are probably, or her not strategies, but sort of like who she dates is probably going to be exactly like who her friends date. So
a reflection of it, yeah.
That does make sense.
So if you could kind of urge her maybe towards. You might have to inception her, because, actually telling her to do it, she's probably not going to listen. But if there was a way where you could help her to kind of move into a different social circle, and with more sort of supporting friends that aren't doing that stuff, I think that would solve the problem.
That's a pretty brilliant strategy.
Yeah, because if you think about it, she's being introduced to people that aren't doing the things that she's currently doing now. And it's showing her, because you're often a reflection of what your friends do. You're kind of influenced by that.
It's a good move.
So if you see your friends, working all the time, and, they've got successful relationships, and, they're going off traveling and doing things, you kind of want that too. You want to be a part of that with your friends.
Yep.
I mean, you are the company you keep, you often hear people say. So
that's a strategy I had not considered. Instead of taking a direct approach, take the kind of long, the way around, just focus on the friend group. That's a good idea. I noticed in a lot of your writings and whatnot, one of the key themes that I see keep popping up is about the importance of communication. And that's something Anthony and I, we harp on that all the time. It's like people's, like, a lot of the problems in the world could be solved if we could just
talk
and have better communication. So, I mean, like, what's the biggest thing that you've noticed in people's communication skills when it comes to this kind of thing?
Well, the one area where guys can get a huge sort of rapid improvement is in their virtual communication. So texting, messaging on Instagram, or whatever sort of messaging app or platform you use. Guys don't really think about how important that is and what they're doing with those messages, and they just kind of shoot from the hip or send something. And oftentimes the implication of that makes you just look way too interested and invested too early. So, you're excited, you meet a girl, you want to message her, you want to talk to her, you want to connect, but when you're doing that through your phone, it's not a real connection. And what happens, I see this all the time, is guys will just start texting like, oh, how's your day going? Good morning, sweet dreams. And then the girls will lose interest very quickly because they're like, this guy's like so invested so early. We haven't even hung out. We haven't even gotten physical. And he's messaging me, blowing me up all the time. He probably doesn't have that many options if he has so much time to message me. And fuck, maybe I'm too good for him. Because we're always kind of asking ourselves the question, like, how close should I get to this person? And are they someone that, we all want to feel like we got someone out of our league, but the ideal relationship is when we both feel like we got someone out of our league. Like we both feel lucky to be with our partner.
Yeah.
And you just see guys making these horrible mistakes kind of early on when they've got the number, they met a girl, whether that's through their friends or they approached or wherever, and they blow it. They sabotage it by over messaging. So that's one of the things I tell guys to fix, because it's the fastest to fix, and it doesn't really you don't have to change yourself. You don't have to do anything like hard. You just have to message less and learn some strategies as far as messaging that works a lot better.
So it's kind of like the chase, I mean, it's less is best, you often hear. And I kind of learned that early on when texting was kind of introduced into my life, as far as the way we kind of grew up with technology.
Right.
And I kind of knew that, because even if you think, before technology, we had to do that. We had to go a couple of days before we heard from somebody, because we didn't have cell phones, and either we seen them at school, or we seen them at, if you happen to date somebody at work, you see them at work. And so you didn't have that option to blow up their phone, so to speak. But now, understanding that premise of being able to text them every day, I can see where a lot of guys screw up. Now it's like, even before I got into a relationship, now it's like I would say, hey, good morning, and then I would not text them the rest of the day. But I also understood too that we're all busy at some point.
That's the first thing I thought of.
If
somebody texts me, like, if just anybody, if somebody, hey, how's your day? I'm like, I don't fucking know how to answer that. I'm busy. I don't like this. I find it irritating, to be honest.
Yeah.
And this is just, and this isn't even like I'm not even trying to date this person. This is just anybody just asking me these vague questions and saying just random. Like, now you've taken time out of my day. I got to like go check this message and see what he says or she says. And I'm like, I don't have time for this. Like,
it's annoying because
but you have to have some sort of communication.
Well, right. But I mean, still have some respect for, like, okay, I'm busy, you're busy. Let's, not just waste your time with, hey, how's your day? I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly never know how to answer that, because my days are so busy. I'm doing all kind of different things. I may tell you what I'm currently working on at that very moment, just to kind of like answer your text back and be a polite, but I find it to be kind of an irritant after a while. Like, it's just certain people that just want to just constantly keep saying that, and it's like, I know you're just trying to be nice, but it's not very respectful of my time.
Right?
Does that make sense?
No, it does.
I have a meme for you.
Yeah, I mean, you have to communicate at some level. It just depends on how much of that level you're willing to go. Because I have found that, if I just said, hey, good morning, hope you have a good day, I'm kind of cutting off that communication by saying, hey, I hope you have a good day. That's how I'm leaving it. And it kind of gives them the opportunity, if they want to respond back, they can. And if they do, you leave it alone. It's something I kind of learned. They were like, hey, thanks. I hope you have a great day too. I'm not going to text you again. And usually it's not going to be until at least the weekend. Or if it's getting close to the weekend, I'll text you around Wednesday or Thursday. Like, hey, you got any plans for the weekend? Just kind of wanted to see what your plans were, and then just kind of go from there. But every day, no, I couldn't do it. Just could not do it. So...
Yeah, what you said, less is best, is definitely the way to go. We forget that when we're face to face saying, hey, how's it going? How's your day? Like, that's normal and good,
Right.
But when you do that through texting, it just becomes annoying, because then you actually have to take the time to respond. And if you're a beautiful woman, you're getting bombarded on all platforms.
Oh yeah.
With,
oh my God.
It's nonstop. Like if
that's all you did. Oh my God.
So like, if you're annoying, even for a second, it's game over. It was one strike, you're out. So in the beginning stages, like, you don't get a second chance. So if you send one wrong text, you can be dead just from that. And it's really unfortunate that so many guys waste a lot of their good leads because they're just making these silly blunders on texting or messaging on Instagram.
So and there's a lot of communication missing in the text too. Like women aren't attracted to words on a screen as much as they're attracted to, like, if I say, "Hey, how's your day?" over text, it's totally different than if I say, "Hey, how's your day?" face to face, and you see my body language, you can feel my tone, you can hear my voice, like that. Just the vibrations in your voice even is just enough to change the game completely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the only reason that you should be texting is to set up, like, the only purpose is to see them face to face again. And the only reason you should be texting is to do that. And sometimes, you got to be a little flirty to remind her that she likes you, or if some time's gone by or you're in different areas and you can't see her right away, you got to stay top of mind. But aside from those reasons, there's no reason to be texting her. You don't want to be getting into like a normal sort of rapport-based conversation over text, because it's just not a good platform for that.
To me, it would kind of put you in the friend zone at that point.
Totally.
Because that's something her friends do on a consistent basis, is text each other, normal talk or normal small talk, so to speak. And next thing you know you're kind of in that realm of everybody else. But yeah, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, like Wednesday was the cutoff point for me, or the day that I actually would hit up a girl and be like, "Hey, what are your plans for the weekend? Looking forward to seeing you," and just leaving it at that. And it's always worked. I don't know why, but Wednesdays seem to be my go-to days.
Excellent. Oh, dick pics. Is that a yes or a no? No?
I would hope
probably
it's a no.
Probably don't send dick pic. I mean,
no dick pics until she's already seen your dick.
No unsolicited dick pics. Yeah, I feel like
seeing it to believe it before.
I feel like that's some very, very much needed advice from what I'm hearing. Like,
I'm just trying to wrap my head under the idea of why guys do that.
I don't know.
I've never understood the peripheral reasons as to why this is a good idea.
I have never in my life, never, even after she's seen it, have I sent a dick pic to anybody ever.
Yeah.
Except one time, but that was a joke.
Is there any explanation for that, Robbie? I mean, do you have an idea of why guys do this?
It's a really good question. I really don't know. I've never had the propensity to do that either. It could be some sort of weird, like, grasp at power, like, oh, if she doesn't like me, so I'm just gonna fucking bomb her with the dick pic and
all right, I got a theory. I got a theory, and since none of us really know, then I'm just throwing the theory out there. And if you're a guy who's watching this right now and you have sent dick pics, unsolicited dick pics,
just don't send them to us.
help me understand this. Actually, speak for yourself, asshole. Anyway, yes, if you're that guy, let me see if this theory plays out. A lot of guys would love to get unsolicited boob pics or vagina pics. Yeah. Send me your naked ass pics. I would like there's no guy out there that would be like, no, ew, gross, don't do that. So it must be, in my mind, some kind of a thing like, well, if I like it, she must like it too. Like, she must be like me and want to also see, like, treat others the way you want to be treated. Yeah.
Right.
Played out to the, nastiest degree, That's a theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but that could be part of it. It's just, it's a total tone deafness to what women actually find attractive or interesting.
I don't know. I think it's more of a caliber kind of woman. When you see a woman that's not exactly, she's a little bit whorish in a way just by looking at her photos, you're probably thinking to yourself, I could just throw her a dick pic. She ain't going to care.
You just said she deserves this.
But then when you start talking to a woman that's got a little bit of class to her, hopefully you would have the right sense to you before you do some dumb shit like that before you send a dick pic. But I don't know. There's guys out there that just don't care.
I gotta wonder, in the history of mankind, has that ever worked ever once? And if it did, how was the quality of that relationship?
Somebody somewhere sent a dick pic and it worked, and they told their friends. Then their friends told their friends, and now we've got a population of guys that believe this shit actually works.
There's actually a competing dating coach, Robbie. You don't know this, but he's like out there saying, dude, I'm telling you, just send her a dick pic, yo.
Yeah,
just do it.
You know,
Look,
if you give it enough confidence, it grows. And if you shave it around, you know, it makes it look bigger.
Behind the paywall is where they teach you the different lighting angles and the photography techniques.
You know, you got all these filters on Instagram. Might as well use one of them.
I would put googly eyes on mine to show that I have a sense of humor, you know.
I've never understood that concept. And the fact that, like I said, at some point somewhere, this worked for some dude, and then it just kind of exploded from there. You know, no pun intended, but
it's kind of like playing the lottery. Like, hey, my buddy won the lottery and he played, so I'm going to keep playing.
But to me, if a girl's interested in a dick pic, that's got to tell you the kind of quality of woman you're looking at. Yeah. Because she's probably got another 12, 15 or 20 dick pics in her inbox anyway. So yeah, you're not the only one.
She's got them up on a mosaic. She's like got an altar on the wall, some kind of like shrine to dick pics, and she prints them all off. And sorry, I'm going weird places now. So, Robbie, be yourself. That's one thing you always hear all the time. That's just not as easily. It's easier said than done. And I know that can't be the end all be all to the dating world advice, because you hear it all the time. It's almost cliche in movies now. He's like, oh, just be yourself. What's your response to that?
Yeah, it's horrible cliche advice that doesn't work, because obviously the guy's already tried to do that. Like, what do you think? I'm not being myself already? Like, if he's not getting success, he's already being himself and it's not working. And the reason why it's not working is because, quote unquote, himself is covered by a layer of fear and anxiety and other sort of insecurities. And when you work on those insecurities by facing your fears and approaching women, or if there's other things you need to work with a therapist on, or, if you have insecurities around your weight and you lose weight and that makes you feel better, whatever it is, those things strip away. And then that cool sort of awesome yourself who's in there somewhere comes out to the surface. And then it's, you start to have success.
I just think you can be yourself, but just be a better version of yourself.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what it boils down to.
Yourself right now isn't ready.
Yourself sucks.
You need some work, and we all need some work in some department, So, I mean, if you've got a bunch of baggage and your life is in disarray right now, you probably shouldn't be dating, Hooking up is another story. If you're just looking to get laid, that's one thing. But if you're actually wanting a meaningful relationship, you kind of have to take a look at your world around you before you say, yeah, that's probably not a good idea until I get some shit straightened out. And that's the problem I found with dating is, women seem to put off this persona that they got their shit together. But then when you actually get to know them, they don't, because the more you kind of peel them back, and they kind of start giving you more information. Well, I'm separated. I'm not technically divorced. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, that's a red flag.
And
so
the fact that you weren't up front to begin with that.
But that's the problem you run into with social media, especially with trying to date, is that you're never going to get the full picture of what somebody is. Yeah. Or at least that's through my experience. And that's happened to me, where they're profile says I'm divorced, but then when I actually go to meet them, it's, I'm technically still separated. I'm not really divorced. And I'm like, and then it kind of gets that snowball effect going of, well, what else are you not really coming clean about, or telling me everything I need to know kind of problem. It's just, that's where I think guys tend to struggle with navigating the world of dating or even trying to hook up. It's perception is everything. So what we put on social media looks good, for the most part, but then when you actually see them in person, you get to know them. It's like, man, what did I sign up for? It's crazy. So I don't know, man. What would you, for guys like me that have experienced that, what would you tell them? Like, how would you kind of navigate those waters when you get on social media and they tell you that, I'm divorced, but then later on you find out that they're separated? Should they be concerned that they might be misleading you?
Yeah, you're going to see that all the time using dating sites and online. Like, everyone is, to some degree, not everyone, but the huge majority is lying, either by photoshopping their photos or their old photos, or, their relationship status isn't quite right. So that's why I tell my clients to kind of stay away from those platforms as much as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to impart upon our audience before we release you back into the wild for the day?
For the guys out there who, you feel like, you don't really know exactly what you're doing, or you kind of have some questions around what to do. Like, that's really what I help guys answer. And I really like giving sort of like usable, concrete, do this, do that sort of advice. So if anyone has, wanting to improve, like knowing how to navigate a first date is a huge sort of something that guys don't really think about. Oh, I'll just go to like a dinner or take her to dinner. Maybe we'll go see a movie, and that's a horrible date. And if you just had a better strategy on what is a good first date and how do you kind of quarterback that, you'll have so much more success. So it's the first date. It's not making stupid blunders over text and knowing how to do that communication. And then simply, developing the courage to go out and approach women, which is going to, like I said earlier, give you that double bang for your buck. You're going to get dates that way, and you're going to improve yourself as a man. So if you got those three things going, like your dating life can transform very quickly.
When you said double bang for your buck, was that pun intended? I gotta know.
I wish I could take credit for that.
All right, Robbie, tell folks where they can reach you if they want to know more information.
Yeah, you can go over to my site. It's innerconfidence.com, and I've got a podcast on there. And if you go to the front page, I have a PDF on how to have that optimal first date. So if you're interested, go over and grab that free copy.
Absolutely, man. I sure appreciate you coming on and having a conversation with us. It was a lot of fun. I think that that dick pic section is going to probably be a good little standalone clip.
I'll get to working on that one. Well, right. Robbie, it was a pleasure talking to you and meeting you for the first time. Hopefully, we'll get you to come back on the show and just kind of do an update on where things are at. And hopefully next time we can talk about a little bit of stories or people that you've worked with and kind of dive into that. So this has been fun.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So
thanks, guys.
So you have been watching the Unframe of Mind show, where we have uncomfortable conversations, and this one has been no different. Absolutely. I'm your host, Daniel Wagner.
Anthony Trawick.
All right. And if y'all want to see our guests' links, they are down in the description below. Right next to that, their subscribe and like buttons. So just, you know what to do. All right, y'all. Have a good one.